Good morning, everyone. It's Dana with the Arts Partnership, back for another episode of Tap Talk. Just in case you wonder what's going on with me, I literally have been on camera this morning for an hour and a half. So I'm perhaps starting to get a little talk fatigued, but you're in luck because I have a guest on who I think is raring to go and talk. So she'll carry a lot of the weight of this episode. So without further ado, let's have Rebecca Rizzio join me on camera. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, Dana.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you this morning?
I'm well too, thank you. So
You've
Rebecca,
been busy, it sounds like this morning.
yeah, it has been a busy morning and it all kind of came at me very unexpectedly, but I sort of live for those moments, so I can't complain.
Yeah.
I want to just give people some really quick backstory and then I'll bring you into the conversation. But Rebecca is a Concordia graduate. We'll let her talk about when and what she majored in and all of that. But she and a man who she will introduce us to, at least talk about him, worked on the production of a new musical together called Philly and the Dreamer. And they had a performance last night. You might have read about it in John Lamb's Forum article earlier this week. But my husband and I were at it last night, and there's another performance tonight. So that's why Rebecca's on this morning, just so she and I can talk about it a little bit. And we can encourage you to get your own free ticket and go see it too. So Rebecca, welcome to Tap Talk. I'm happy to have you on.
Thank you, Dana. Happy to be here. Thanks for being here.
So talk a little bit about your time previously in Moorhead.
Oh, it was wonderful. I spent 8 years working with the college. First, as a student in the late '90s, I was a cobber, in the late '90s, and then I came back in 2008 to work for the Office of Advancement and worked with President Jolicoeur and President Dovry and President Kraft and all those folks there. So I spent 8 really awesome years with the college, and so it was just one of the places I couldn't wait to get back to with the show.
Yeah, so you and I met virtually through the Wintersteins, who are at Concordia and Theater B, when you were looking to bring this, what are you calling this? A musical performance?
We're calling it a concert. We're calling it the music of Philly and the Dreamer in concert. Yes. And we were looking for a place to bring it. And of course, I mean, Concordia would be first on my list coming back here as a space. And David Winterstein just was lovely about welcoming us there and hosting us. So it's we thought, let's bring the concert because we want to bring the full production next year. Yeah. And so this is a way to acquaint the community with the show and to raise funds to bring it back here next year through sponsorship and investment opportunities that are available.
Right. So just because I know how important it is to mention sponsors, who's your primary sponsor for this season?
The concert is free, and that's thanks to Bell Bank, who has sponsored the event. So our thanks to Julie Peterson Klein and Mike Solberg and the bank, of course, because that's what's made it all possible to bring an awesome free concert to Moorhead and Fargo.
Yes. And West Fargo. Yes.
And all the places.
It's the metro, and the metro likes to go to the arts regardless of what side.
Our motto is the edge of town. Yeah, that's
right.
Yes.
Okay, so Rebecca, let's talk about this musical. First of all, let me put the link up for
the
website so that people can find it, phillyandthedreamer.com.
Yes,
talk to us about how you got involved with this musical.
It's just such a great story because, John Call is the writer composer of the show, and the show is loosely based on a band that he produced back in 1979. The band was called Philly because the lead singer's name was Phyllis, and she was just this incredible vocalist. And so he was inspired to build this band around her, and he wrote this great, awesome music for the band and was encouraged to write the story of this band and, put it with the music. So when I met him in 2013, he was networking around the Twin Cities to get the show up on stage. He had completed the first draft and was looking to workshop it. And I was directing in town. I was working at different theaters around Minneapolis and St. Paul, and he got my name from somebody, actually Maggie Scanlon, another director in Minneapolis. And I'm so grateful for that introduction. She was a director of more classical sort of straight plays, and he needed a musical theater person. And she said, I know the person for you. And we connected, and kind of the rest is history after that point.
Yeah.
moment.
Okay, so that was 10-ish years ago.
Yes.
You have gone on to do some pretty remarkable things with this musical.
Thank
Talk
you.
about
Yes.
that.
It's such a journey, you see it, and what happens, you put up a show, and you don't realize when you're in the thick of it. Everybody knows this, that's involved in the arts, kind of, it's the day-to-day, and it's sort of each piece of it that's so important. And when you put up the show, and then it takes on this life, and the impact that it starts to have, and you go, wow, this is resonating in a way that I didn't even realize it
Mhm.
could resonate, is what was happening. So we continued its development. We set our sights as high as you can set them, and said this show has to be able to compete at an elite level. And so John studied worked with dramaturgs, worked with writers. I worked with producers in and on Broadway, and we've developed this show, and it was ready to go up in full production. And of course, COVID hurt a lot of our friends and partners in the world, so
Yeah.
it put us a little bit on hold. And when we said, all right, we're going to come back, we thought, where can we go to bring the show back up on stage and get people back out into the theater, and this was one of the places we wanted to do it. So yeah.
Which is such a present, because it's fun to see work in process. And I understand that you've done full productions of this.
Yeah.
So it's not that you are necessarily tweaking and finessing, but you're really trying to figure out how to take it to the next level. But you won a huge award with this musical.
Thank you. We won Broadway World's Best Original Work in Minneapolis in 2014 when the show first went up. And the competition was like the History Theater and the Guthrie, and I mean, so there was something about the spirit of this show as an original work, right, as a new work, that was contagious. And it's because of the message that people were taking from it, that anything is possible, and follow your dreams, and just that positive vibe and energy, and the fun and contagious music. So the music with the message just got people to want to come back and see it again. And so it did. And throughout the development, you cut songs, and you add characters, and you cut characters, and you do all of that. You understand that whole process, and then you get to this place where you go, yeah, the show it's developed, and we feel good about where it's at, and that's the place it's at right now. So even though it has been up in different iterations of production, now it feels like a fully flashed production.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Sting did a concert of the music for The Last Ship.
Mm-hmm.
And I am sort of obsessed with Sting, so I've watched it about 500,000 times. So I would be one of the great viewers of the many people who've watched it. But he talks about that same process. So like he talks about a character who was kind of modeled on him, who he really loved and felt this great kinship with, who had great music. And he showed up one day and the producers were like, Sting, that guy doesn't work. You got to get rid of him. He's too old. It does. And he said, it just wounded me to the core, because they were in essence rejecting him. But I mean, that's how this world works at this, particularly this most elite level. You're putting together I don't mean formula in a negative way, but you're putting together a packaged formula that will sell to somebody coming from Fargo, North Dakota to New York City and spending maybe upwards of $500 to see a musical that cost $8 to $10 million on the conservative end to put together. You can't afford to have stuff that's superfluous, or characters that don't resonate, or whose arc doesn't go where it needs to go. So what we saw last night was sort of a narrative concert. Not sort of, it was a narrative concert. So is that all of the music from the show, Rebecca, or did you choose segments of the music?
Thank you. It was about 90% of the music. It's most of it. Much of we put most of the full songs in there. There's some scene change music that wasn't incorporated, but it's about 90% of the music. It's most everything from the show. Yes.
So in addition to being able to follow the story through the music, then you are there to narrate the scenes which happen between songs, because there's a lot of meat to this show. I mean, there's a lot of twists and turns. And certainly what I saw last night, I would not have walked away without your narration and said, I wonder if the mob is involved, for instance. I mean, I don't think that's giving anything away, but you need that to really have a sense of how this story moves forward, because the music individually stands alone. But if you want to have an experience like you've watched a story with it, then you really do need that to carry us through. So you did that. And what I particularly liked about it, Rebecca, was I liked that you were both a narrative to the musical, but also a guide to the evening. So you introduced the performers. You would say, well, here's Drew Swenson as Johnny. And then you would tell us the context leading into the song. And I thought that was really effective, in part because not everybody, tell me if I'm wrong, I believe I'm correct in this, but not everybody played the same character throughout.
Right. That's right.
So sometimes Philly was sung by more than one woman. Well, we would not have known that because we live in the construct of, oh, I know her, she plays the character Philly. Who is this other woman singing? So it was really useful, I thought, for you to weave in and out of present and storyteller, and made it move and feel very seamless.
Thank you. That was the intent, because yes, the music does entertain on its own, but John, Cal, the writer, felt too that it was particularly important because, as you said, there's lots of nooks and crannies in the story. And even what I can give is not the full show, right? But at least it can give some context. And then combined with the talent that we had, have McKenna Bry and Ariana Grolman and Drew Swenson and a lot of these local, and we wanted to be able to feature everybody too. So rather than just one Philly, we have all these talented female vocalists. Let's spread it out a bit and give them each a sort of a moment in a spot. And that was really important to John too. So that was fun. So I'm glad that worked, because that was the intention.
It absolutely worked. Talk about your band, because you did not pull together a slouch band, Rebecca.
Oh my gosh, no! Russ Peterson. So of course I've known Russ from Concordia for forever. I mean, Russ is just such a talented guy.
Yeah, he's an institution. Yeah.
Yes, he's an institution. And Michael Culleton and Andrew Steinberg and all these folks that were helping, and David Winterstein. David Winterstein said, you need Andrew Steinberg. And of course, and then I thought, well, we need Russ Peterson, but we'll never be super busy. And then as it turned out, we called Russ. He said, oh, the last week of June, I've got that open. I'll call the guys. So Russ got Chris Gould and Tom Christensen and Doug Neal on bass. And so it was just, and Antonio Johnson on guitar. So it was an awesome sort of find an opportunity to be able to get them. So yes, they really augment the singers in a great way. So it was awesome.
Well, because the music is good and difficult. So you can't have somebody who's like, hey, I sometimes pluck away at my guitar in my bedroom. You got to have some serious musicians, and you did.
It's very particularly scored a very particular way too, to get the sound right. Because the music is, even though it's music sometimes from back in 1979, it's been sort of Broadway-tized, and so there's lots of things that are very nuanced, and so it is important to get people who can read the music and interpret it properly. So they do it.
Yeah, they did. And your singers are great. The harmony is particularly impressive. I don't know if you know the musical Quilters, but I did Quilters.
I do. I've seen it. Yes.
So, that's 7-part harmony. And I did that in summer stock. And it's truly the hardest thing I ever sang, because A, you're learning it fast, like your singers did, and B, it's so tight. This was really tight harmony, and they were really on. I mean, really, at some points the band cut out and they were singing a cappella, and that's a gamble, even with good singers, because there's a lot of people on that stage, and there was just no waver. I mean, they were in it. So bravo on that. I have two things I want to bring up before we wrap up. I was sitting not too far from John, and you don't very often get to be with a creator in the audience. But what was so interesting is at the end of almost every song, you could hear John go, oh yeah. So that was really fun, just to hear him celebrating the fruits of his labor and seeing these performers bring to life what has been living in his head for a very long time. Yes. And the second thing, and you will understand what an achievement this is. the last big rock number, because we were in the back, I looked out over the audience, which was a very traditional Fargo Moorhead West Fargo audience. And people
Yeah.
were doing this. And I thought,
No
oh
way.
my gosh, like that is the equivalent to a full-on diving into an audience rave for our audiences.
It is.
So
It
you
is.
really hit a spark,
Thank you.
I think, with people.
Thank you, Dana. No, speaking of John and the harmonies, you're right. I've always felt John's got a lot of creative, a lot of talent, but I've always felt his greatest gift is his musicality and the harmonics that he brings and how he writes, because he writes very specifically with putting the fifth on the bottom and things like that, right? That are very unique. And when you hear it, I mean, I've heard the music for a decade, and I hear him sing it when we're working on it, and I hear Finale playing it. But when you hear 12 singers singing it, I mean, it's even new every time we hear it because of that. So it really is a special thing. And I'm glad he's able to hear it.
Hence the beauty of live performances.
Yes.
I
mean,
mean,
we need it.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. So Rebecca, how do people get tickets for tonight?
They get tickets just what you did. Thank you. On the website, they can go or Concordia College concert tickets. It's an Eventbrite link. It's very simple. They're free, of course. Thank you to Bell Bank. There are tickets available. We had a great crowd last night. We'll have another great crowd tonight. And I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you this morning, Dana. Thank you.
Well, I really enjoyed being there last night. It was fun to see these young performers in slightly different music, playing slightly different a different era than most of them were even born in, quite frankly. So that was good. And it's just a great thing when you can have an alum of one of our colleges and universities with such a deep tie to this community that you figure out a way to bring it back. So thanks to Bell Bank for enabling you to do that. It's really important for Fargo Moorhead West Fargo to see that these college alums, university alums, go off and make good and don't forget where they started. So it's a great thing to have you back, Rebecca.
Well, thank you, Dana. And nothing would be cooler than bringing it back in full production next year. So that would be awesome. I look forward to that.
If you go tonight, Rebecca will continue to tell you why she's making that pitch and how you can get involved. So if you've got nothing going on tonight, or if you have Netflix planned, Netflix will be there tomorrow. Go and see Philly and the Dreamer tonight. And then we can talk about it when I see you out and about around town. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do. Keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck tonight.
Thank you. Have fun.